here. And we're also going to go live on YouTube. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning to whoever's joining in. Just let me know you're here on the chat. Quickly introduce yourselves. My name is Aparna, and I'm going to be your host. I'm streaming from Bangalore. Bryan, you're from Houston?
Houston, Texas.
Yes. So Bryan is joining us from Houston. Let us know your name and the city that you're from very quickly on the chat. Sarah, hi, nice to have you. People on YouTube also, please let us know your introductions. Leave your message on the live chat. We're going to be interacting with you guys through the live chat here. Okay. Bill, hi. Ajay from India. Okay, Maggie from Salem. Okay. Kavit from Noida. Productions. Hi. Pooja from, okay, Pennsylvania. Atik. Great. Justina from the UK. Mithilesh, hi. Chandrasekhar from Bangalore as well. Nice to have you, Chandrasekhar. Yeah, quickly just leave your introductions on the chat before we get started.
It's like a lot of people from India tonight.
Yeah, a lot of people from India. Sanket, Mumbai, Devasmita, Ajay, okay, Bihar.
You're certainly better at saying some of the names than I would be. So,
Yes. Gyani from Hyderabad, Uday. Okay. Hi, Uday. Okay. Great. Andre from New York. Okay, great. Keep those introductions coming. Now, you know why we're all here. We're here to understand the differences, between the three certifications that we have. So the CSM, the PSM, and also the Scale Agile Scrum Master certification, right? So we're going to take you through the differences. And towards the end, we also help you understand how Simplilearn CSM certification can help you become a Scrum Master and take on roles in this domain. So Bryan is here with us to take you through the session. I'll introduce him to you really shortly. But before we start, just some quick ground rules. You guys may have questions to ask, so please make sure you use the Q&A box. Let's say something comes up during the session and you would want to ask Bryan. Make sure you use the Q&A box to ask your question, and we keep our questions public, so you can also look at another attendee's question or comment on their question and see and maybe clarify each other's doubts. But wait till we move to the Q&A segment. We'll answer all these questions towards the end of the session. Yeah. Just a moment. Sorry, we just have someone's note taker here. Okay, anyway, got it. So if you guys have, I think they're all automated messages from the note taker app. It's okay. So let's say you have a question, please make sure you use the Q&A box and not the chat box because there's a lot of interaction that's going to happen there. So we might miss your question, and wait till your question is addressed. If you see your question is already posted, then maybe refrain from posting it once again and spamming the Q&A. Do not try and repeat, posting the same question, because again, it might spam the Q&A box and then we're just looking at the same question again and again. Yeah. So just make sure you use the Q&A box wisely, and don't worry if you don't call out your name. We've seen your question, make sure it's answered. And Bryan is really quick at typing, so please make sure that all questions are answered. It's never happened that we've not answered any question in our webinars. So that's just some quick ground rules. And remember, this session is being recorded. Now, let's say you guys have missed something. You can quickly head to our YouTube channel and find the live stream there. So you can take a look at it immediately after this webinar. Or I'll share the link to the live stream right after this webinar for you to refer. Okay, but you will still receive a follow-up email containing the recording and a quick webinar certificate telling that you have attended this webinar. So maybe wait till the end till you get to give in your names for the certificate here. Yeah. So that's just those are some just quick some ground rules. If you have questions, you may ask me right now. Otherwise, if you're clear, maybe a quick thumbs up so that we know you are good to go and ready to start. Just a yes if you've understood what you see on your screen. If you have questions, please only use the Q&A box. Yeah? Everyone is clear? Quick yes on the chat. Yeah. Okay, great. We're ready to start. Okay, amazing. So before we start, we'd also like to know about you a bit more. So let me know how much work experience you carry, and this is not limited to your Agile or Scrum career, just overall work experience. So let us know through this poll that I'm about to launch. Yeah, use the poll, the pop-up, and people on YouTube, you guys can let us know your answers on the live chat. Hi, Yusuf, Kuhu. Bryan is also replying to comments on YouTube. So if you have got questions, please make sure you use the live chat for questions here. That's okay. Please make sure you choose the right option on the poll. I don't know what -2 means.
Wow, yeah. Very early
Does it
here.
mean you're still in college? A couple of years to go. Okay. Good response though. Please make sure you use the poll less than 2 years or 2 to 5, 6 to 10. Okay, great. And I'll just keep the poll live for another few seconds before we close. Okay. Use the poll, guys. Use the poll. The live chat is for people on YouTube. Okay, you have the poll to choose from. Kapil, Brit, Akansh, Ajay, all of you. All right, I think I'll end the poll here, Brian. I'm sure you're able to see these results. A lot of them.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, I've got a lot of experience, 10 to 20 years. Okay. Great. So I'm sure this session will offer you some insights on what certification you can start with. You may have questions as well, so you guys know what to do if you have questions. Let's quickly get started. I'll introduce Simplilearn to you. So Simplilearn offers certifications in various domains, the ones that you see here, AI, ML, data science, business analytics, also in cybersecurity, of course, in Agile, Scrum, and project management domains as well. So in case you want to look at certifications or long-term programs that align you to a certain career path, you can head to simplylearn.com. And of course, today at the end of the session, we'll take you through the enrollment steps for the CSM certification training. Okay. We've also got a couple of learning advisors to help you understand and get answers to your questions before you actually make the decision, right? So we're going to do that towards the end while we're doing the Q&A. So let's say you're here to enroll and get started. You're in the right place at the right time. So we'll take you through these steps towards the end. Okay. And with this, let me introduce Bryan. Although if you are attending our webinars for a long time, Bryan is our go-to coach for Agile and Scrum certifications. He's got more than 25 years of experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bryan.
Yeah,
in
that's
the
right.
Agile program and project management domain. He's also a certified PMI trainer. SAFe practitioner is also PMI-ACP certified. And an amazing thing is that he's a contributing author to the PMBOK, the 7th edition of the Project Management Book of Knowledge. That's actually amazing. He's also an instructor, a lot of places for project management and Agile certifications, right? So, Bryan, welcome once again. I'll let you introduce yourself and
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add much more than we just shared here, but yeah, a lot of my background is certainly in project management and a lot in Agile too. So I kind of have a foot in both camps, if you will. A lot of the organizations I work with typically are larger, so they often have a need for some of the traditional project management practices, questions around budgets and schedules and scope, but really want to leverage some of these agile techniques that I think everyone here is interested in learning a little bit more about. So yeah, lots of exciting opportunities out there if you're interested in agile, and it fits very nicely with most of the conventional project management practices.
Yeah. All right, great. So I think we're ready to start. Let's quickly understand uh, what the differences are between these certification, what's the best fit for you. But before that, Bryan, could you just take them through what Agile certifications really do, how they're shaping up today?
Yeah, that's a great question. A couple things this slide clearly shows is that there's just a lot of growth in this space. So Agile, although it's been around for a little over 20 years now, just continues to build momentum. And originally, it was kind of focused a bit more in software development and IT,
Mm.
but has rapidly broadened. And now you see it in organizations in all the different functional areas. It can be sales, marketing, HR, accounting, because a lot of these ideas extend very effectively into any part of an organization. So there's just so much interest in this. I can't tell you, I don't think organizations exist right now that aren't spending some time with these agile ideas and concepts. They're all very interested in leveraging it. And it's mostly because it's a very effective way to respond to change.
Mm.
So it doesn't take a lot of imagination to kind of think about how much change we're seeing, both personally, probably, but certainly in the corporate environment. So Agile is a really effective answer to responding to the change that organizations are seeing. Um, Now, the other part of this, as I'm sure you're familiar with, Parna, is getting a certification is a great way to demonstrate you understand these concepts, that you've learned these topics, you can apply these techniques. So, if this is a place that you want to spend some time and kind of grow in a little bit more in your career, a certification is going to be a really helpful way in which you can demonstrate to either your current employer or prospective employers that you've got these credentials, that you know how to do this. So if they're interested in Agile and you've got an Agile certification, it's really going to open up some of those doors for you. So now the big question I think we'll be spending some time on is there's actually quite a few different certifications. Which is the best one for you? So we'll
Mm.
spend some time talking through that. And of course, if there's questions, we'll help answer them.
Yeah, of course. So, Bryan, one quick thing, actually, two quick questions. One is you mentioned that this was initially, this framework was set or maybe designed for IT organizations. But what if people are in a non-tech role or in a non-tech domain, like say manufacturing or, other domains, BF banking and all of that? So, are these, or is this framework really also applicable to such roles, to such job roles? I'm sure a lot of learners have the same question. You might see that in the Q&A as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. And you're exactly right. It has its roots in more technical, more software development. But when you look at what Agile really represents, and we'll probably talk a bit more about this through the session, but Agile is all about bringing people together,
Yeah.
find ways to collaborate, to interact, to kind of create high performing teams. So that's obviously not just applicable in IT and software development because people are in teams in lots of other parts of an organization. So you're right. You could use these techniques very effectively if you're working in HR. It's also agnostic when it comes to what industry you're working with. So you could be in manufacturing, you could be finance, you could be in healthcare. Any industry is going to get benefits from these ideas and techniques, which is, again, part of the reason so many organizations are embracing Agile
Agile.
to
Yeah.
be used so effectively.
Hmm. Now, how is this different from the Scrum framework? I know we've not mentioned this in the slide anywhere, but how is this really different from the Scrum framework? How the how's the job role different?
Yeah, that's an interesting question too, because oftentimes people tend to equate the two. They kind of think of Agile is
Okay.
Scrum.
Mm.
But a different way to kind of think about it, think of Agile as like an umbrella. And underneath the umbrella, we've got practices like Scrum, and there's lots of other ones out there. Folks might have come across terms like extreme programming or XP. That's another set of Agile practices that complements Scrum. We've got Crystal is another set of methods by another sort of thought leader in this space. You've got lots of different frameworks like the scaled agile framework, which we're going to hear a little bit about. So all those are agile. There's, agile sort of is an umbrella term. It's sort of a set of behaviors. It's a way in which we approach solving problems. And then Scrum and SAFe and all the other types of practices sort of fit within or underneath that umbrella.
Got it. Understood. So maybe let's dive into the first certification, because I'm not sure. I mean, I may be making guesses here, but is this the most popular, or why is it really the most popular amongst the three? Maybe could you take them through the CSM certification here?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. When we kind of pull back and think about of all the different certifications, and we're going to really be talking about three of them today. They're all in this Scrum space. The first
Yeah,
one is a
yeah.
Certified Scrum Master, and this one I think quite frankly is the biggest one. Most people that are interested in getting a certification as a Scrum Master are probably going to be interested in spending time with the Certified Scrum Master. So it's very widely recognized. It's sort of a globally recognized certification. So it doesn't matter where you are. And I know we've got people from around the world on today's session. So wherever you might be, this will be recognized in the areas that you're in. It's provided through the Scrum Alliance. So this is sort of an organization that ensures that the certification reflects the standards necessary to be an effective Scrum Master. They also manage some of the certification examination that you'll need to complete to get the certification. And its focus is on Scrum, because it's a Certified Scrum Master. So you're going to really be spending time in this one area, getting really familiar with what Scrum represents.
Got it. Got it. Got it. What about the professional Scrum Master? How different is that from CSM?
Well, yeah, that's a great question too, because the term Scrum Master is there in both certifications. So they're both focusing on the role of a Scrum Master within a Scrum delivery team. There's going to be a lot of emphasis on the Scrum framework and understanding the different ceremonies that you use and techniques to kind of manage teams using these practices. This one is offered through a different association, the scrum.org organization. So it's got very much a very similar perspective on this. They're just trying to find ways to help people really get the most from these techniques and practices. And similarly to what we saw for the Certified Scrum Master certification, it's going to cover lots of the same topics. Now, some make a bit of an argument that it's a bit more rigorous, and I think that's mostly because the PSM has different levels that you can pursue. So the first one, the PSM level 1, is sort of a solid introduction, foundational oriented certification, and then you can build on that with the PSM 2 and 3. So both of these, however, are really good fits for anyone interested in pursuing this. But like I said, I think the CSM is just a little bit more broadly recognized than we'd see with the PSM.
Right. So does CSM also have these levels, or how can one really grow from being a CSM? I mean, does it have same levels as the PSM does?
Yeah, so again, slightly different approaches both these organizations are taking. So in the case of the CSM, their position is, let's get you really grounded with Scrum practices, and we're going to focus on certifications for the key roles. So we've got the Scrum Master role. We also have the Product Owner role. So this is where you'll kind of, you're working effectively as a Scrum Master. Your next step will probably get a little more familiarity with a Product Owner role. And at that point, they kind of view this as, okay, good, you've got good grounding here. Now let's go out, let's start applying these techniques and adapt and adjust and bring your own skills into how you get the most from these practices. Whereas the PSM, they're going to be interested in saying, okay, let's level you up to the next, the area of interest. And that's usually where you start bringing in questions about, like, well, what happens when you're working with different teams? So you've got one agile team, but you need to work with another agile team, or maybe lots of agile teams, or maybe it's a third party, it's a different company you're working with. So how do we kind of align these practices effectively? So they kind of bring in, think of it as, more complex questions
Got it. I think we'll talk about the roadmap maybe in a bit, but maybe you could take them through the SAFe Scrum Master as well, and how this is really different from the other two.
Yeah, right. So again, same foundation. We're going to be focusing on Scrum and the role of the Scrum Master. But the term SAFe is another acronym, lots of acronyms in today's
Yeah.
session. SAFe stands for the Scaled Agile Framework. And as you might kind of guess, it's all about how do we take agile practices and extend them across a large enterprise. So think, you're working for a great big company, maybe one of these finance, banking sector companies that you were mentioning earlier. You've got thousands of employees. So how do we take these agile practices that work really well with small teams, and how do we broaden them across that enterprise of thousands of other employees? So the Scaled Agile Frameworks spends a lot of time answering that particular question. This certification is going to, of course, get you very oriented around Scrum and Scrum practices, but within the context of the scaling framework that they use.
Got it. Got it. So, Bryan, maybe before we take them through the real differences, so let's say someone has no idea about the Scrum certifications, just is trying to explore their options, right? So,
Yeah.
what should one do? How should one go about becoming aware of these practices? How are these practices really applicable in, say, a real-time job role? So, let's say someone is I don't know, someone is a project manager already, someone is managing multiple projects. Their designation does not say that, but they're managing multiple projects. So how does one go about understanding how these roles really apply, and kind of pick up from there and show that they have these skills? How does one know that? How does one become aware or learn about these roles?
Yeah, right. So in fact, looks like a lot of folks on today's call have a fair
Yeah.
amount of experience. So
Yes,
I'm
they do.
guessing many of them are saying, hey, I'm interested in this, or maybe their organizations are starting to make some moves into more agile practices. So they want to be prepared for that. So a couple things that give some thought to. If this space is very new to you, and you're just kind of interested, you're learning more about it, you'll probably find the Certified Scrum Master, the CSM, as a really strong path to start on. It really focuses on beginners, no previous knowledge required. You're going to get very much a foundational starting point that you can build on. And it's going to focus on some of these Scrum basics. Now, we're not going to get a chance to go into too much detail on this, but essentially what it's going to give you is some tools on how to work with teams. What are some good practices that are going to help move your team into more of a high performing mode? So these are going to be really practical. These are going to be techniques you can literally apply the very next day after you've taken the certification. So for a lot of folks, this is a very helpful, valuable way to kind of take these techniques and get benefit from them immediately. And then, as mentioned, it's just very popular. A lot of organizations recognize the CSM as sort of that gold standard. It's a great way to kind of get people grounded with these practices and start them on their agile journey. Now, if you're coming at this from maybe a perspective of, hey, I've maybe been working on agile teams for a while, and I've got pretty solid familiarity with these ideas and concepts. Maybe you've spent some time with the Scrum Guide and gone through it in a fair amount of detail. That's where you might find a professional Scrum Master maybe a stronger fit for where you are. So I think for many of the folks here who have 10 plus years of experience, I wouldn't be surprised if a number of them have already been exposed to some of these ideas and concepts. And you might find this sort of a better starting point because it's going to leverage that knowledge you already have, complement it in some ways, and then give you some paths that you can explore that get more and more advanced if you want to take that direction. And then finally, we've got SAFe. So if you're in an organization that is sort of making their own moves into the scaled agile framework and starting to leverage those techniques, then this is probably going to be a good fit for your career path. So it's generally speaking for larger organizations. So if you're already in a big organization, then great. That's a place you want to get to. You want to start working for those bigger organizations. Many of them are going to be using the Scaled Agile framework in some flavor. So this would be a good place to get some exposure, learn about these ideas, and of course, really get deep into the Scrum set of practices. So good place if you're working in a larger enterprise or if they're already using SAFe.
Got it, got it. So can someone really show that, let's say someone want to switch jobs, or are these roles really function specific? So can I become a Scrum Master eventually after pursuing the certification, or I just apply these principles in my current job role? How does that work after getting certified?
Yeah, I think at a minimum, I suspect if you do want to become a Scrum Master, you're probably going to need one of these certifications to demonstrate that you've got this knowledge. And I think most organizations are going to probably have some expectations. If you're coming into a role as Scrum Master, you have a certification to support it. And now, what you might find is, once you get the certification, often the challenge is how to get the experience to
Yeah.
show this. And that can, be a little challenging. I can relate. I had the same experiences when I was starting my career. So one approach is just to take these ideas and practices and then bring them into the teams you're working with. You might not necessarily have the title of a Scrum Master, but you can certainly bring these concepts, these ideas, these practices into your team. You can make some suggestions. Hey, why don't we do a daily stand-up as a team? Check in with each other and understand what work we're focusing on. Let's review the work we have completed with our customers and get feedback similar to the reviews that Scrum is going to emphasize. So you can start bringing a few of these ideas in, and over time, not only will you get some practical experience, but you might discover your organization says, gosh, this is awesome. We're getting so much progress now. Maybe you should be our Scrum Master. And now you've got a title to go with the work you're doing.
Got it, got it. So one quick question though, on after you did mention CSPO, but aren't these different job roles? So what is, how is that? I mean, I'm not sure, it's not in the agenda of today's session, but just, kind of asking, because I'm sure we'll have these questions in the Q&A box later. But just want to understand, how is the product owner role different from the Scrum Master?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And then, yeah, a couple things about that. So you're exactly right. When we think of Scrum, what makes Scrum really appealing to many people and their organizations is it's quite lightweight. So we mentioned, I do a lot of work in the project management domain, and that PMBOK, that project management body of knowledge reference. If you have a copy of that, certainly the 6th edition, that was 1,000 pages. It's like a phone book. It's just so packed with information. So you can imagine absorbing all that and really understanding everything that goes into project management could be quite an endeavor, right? Big investment in time, reviewing, understanding these concepts. Contrast that to the Scrum Guide. It is 13 pages. I think that includes a table of contents. So it's very lightweight. It's very accessible. So if you're, if you're a big organization, maybe you got 10,000 people working in it, you're asking yourself, gee, it's going to be much easier to get my organization using these Scrum techniques because they're just so much more accessible than these full-blown PMBOK, PMP style practices. So that's one reason Scrum's been widely accepted. And another part is when we think of that 13-page Scrum guide, one of the ways it sort of is able to kind of get to the point, it's so light, is it doesn't think of roles the same way you would see most organizations. So instead of thinking of you've got this role, you're a developer level 1 or a business analyst level 2, or you're a tester or QA person, it really just says you're a team member. The only role is team member. And there's 2 other roles. We've got a Scrum Master, which we're talking about right now, and that product owner. So the Scrum Master is going to be working closely with the team, ensuring that the team is really doing the best they possibly can. Their role is to kind of make the team great. Sometimes even hear the Scrum Master described as a coach, coaching the team. The product owner is the person responsible for understanding what work needs to get done. What does a team need to do? They provide the answers to questions the team might have. They organize work by value and they prioritize that. So the most important pieces of work are being pulled by the team to get delivered. So the product owner has a really important role with the team. They're kind of providing the clarity, the priority on what work needs to be performed. The Scrum Master is there to kind of help the team be the best they possibly can. And then the rest is, just team members all working together with a common goal and sharing their skills. So that means, you might be a really strong developer, but the team might need some help, maybe capturing some requirements or doing some testing. You say, no problem, let me jump into that. I can help out. So the whole intent here is to create this cross-functional, self-managed team.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Let's talk about the exams. I'm sure in this slide, I think we've spent a little more time on. Someone had a question. Does someone need to do a PMP before they actually do a Scrum Master to demonstrate their skills, or no?
Yeah, great question. No, definitely not necessary. So if you don't have a PMP, you don't need that to take your Scrum certification. In fact, Scrum is designed to be very accessible. I think even some of the folks who only, just entering their career would get a lot of benefit from this, or people that have been doing this for 10 plus years would get a lot of value from it. So yeah, no prerequisite required to start your journey with the Scrum framework and practices. And then someone actually asked another question, which I think is a good one too. We're focusing on these 3 certifications, but someone pointed out there's also the ACP, which is Agile Certified Professional, and that's certification offered by the Project Management Institute. So we're not talking about it here, but it's also a very, very strong Agile certification. What makes it a little bit different is, as you can probably see, there's a bit of a pattern with these 3 certifications. They're all focused on being a Scrum Master. The ACP looks a little bit more broadly. It looks not just at the Scrum set of practices, but it looks at all those other practices that fit underneath that Agile umbrella. Now, I will say this, if anyone has a PMP, you're probably familiar with the fact that they do have prerequisite requirements in the form of education, experience, and then because this covers a little bit more ground on the ACP, it's a longer exam. It's 3 hours, so it's a little more in depth. So for many folks, it's sort of a place that you might keep that. If you're just starting right now, start with these certifications. Keep the ACP as maybe a place you get to after you've accomplished these certs and then got a little more experience.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So maybe we can take them through the 3 exams and how the renewal works after someone's certified.
Yeah, that's another important question. So you can see, this table gives you a little understanding of each one of the exams. So they're all, generally speaking, pretty accessible exams. I think the longest is the SSM, the SAFe Scrum Master at 90 minutes, but generally speaking, they're an hour to an hour and a half in duration. They're multiple choice, and you'll be presented with a question with 4 potential answers, and you pick the best one. They all have different passing thresholds that you're expected to achieve. Sort of, generally speaking, though, you're aiming for about 75% to pass the exam. And what I would say, having spent a lot of time with, writing these kind of exams and taking my fair share of them, I have to get my own certifications too. You'll probably find these actually very accessible exams. Most people, once they've taken the course, are probably going to be successful passing that certification. Now, it's a little different on the PMP. You take the PMP, the pass rate isn't quite as high because it's a pretty demanding exam. And then you probably noticed one of my certifications is a SAFe practice consultant, and that's also quite a demanding exam. So that one a little longer and probably not quite as high pass rate. But these ones, very accessible. I think anyone taking the class will probably get a great mark taking the exam. Now, the term for these, so how long is your certification good for? Well, you can see for the SAFe Scrum Master, they expect you to renew that every year. And you are going to have to pay some money to do that. It's $100 currently. That price could change, so check their website. So there's an expectation you're going to be kind of actively renewing and paying that fee. Now, you don't need to retake the exam. Once you take it once, as long as your certification is active and valid, you just pay the $100, you're automatically renewed. The Certified Scrum Master has a little longer time frame in which that certification is good for. It's 2 years, but you also need to pay $100 to renew it when that's completed. And you have to also accumulate these Scrum education units, these SEUs. And what are those? Well, those are just courses, reading that you've done, webinars like that, that you've taken. You need 20 of those units, which generally equate to 20 hours of time. So you've got 20 hours over the next 2 years where you're continuing to learn about these agile topics and Scrum and ideas like this. And by the way, a webinar like this would constitute one SEU. So you just be on the lookout for these kind of webinars to kind of get to the point you can renew your certification. And there's a little application you'd fill out at the end of the 2 years saying, yep, here's what I took. It adds up to 20 units, and here's my $100, and then you get renewed. And then finally, we had the PSM, and they have a little different approach to this. Their model is like, once you've learned these concepts, it's like riding a bike. You're never going to forget them. So it's a lifetime certification. You don't have to renew it. And that's, for a lot of people, also pretty compelling because they think, hey, I don't have to put more money into this after I get the certification.
Right, right. Is it the same for PSM 2 and 3 as well, or is it just...
Yep, same thing. Yep. No, it's a lifetime and no renewal required. Now, we did mention the PMI-ACP, and again, we're not spending a lot of time on that in this session, but that one also has its own renewal period. That's 3 years. Every 3 years, you're going to have to renew, and it will need not SEUs, but PDUs, which is a project development units or personal
Development units, yeah.
Yes.
Is it the same as PMP?
Yep.
Yeah, is it the same as PMP where the validity is 3 years and then someone has to earn certain PDUs? I'm
Yes.
sure that the SEUs work in a similar fashion, right?
Yep, very, very similar to kind of, I guess you could say, copied what the PMI was doing. Now, one thing that is a little bit interesting on the PMI side is if you're like me and you have a lot of their certifications, you can use the PDUs across your certifications.
Oh,
so it's easier to maintain your certs that way.
Got it. Someone has a message on the chat. So is PMP on the top of all these certifications, or how is that really different from the Scrum certifications or the Agile ones that we've mentioned here?
Yeah. So I guess it's always a kind of a hard question to answer when is it on the top? Is it the best? I don't know if I'm necessarily the right person to answer that, but what I can say is I think you could make a pretty strong argument that the PMI is probably the largest certification body in this space, both for project management and these agile certifications. They've got a very, very strong presence. They're a globally recognized institute. They've been around for a long time. So I think for a lot of people, they do tend to view the PMP as sort of one of the stronger, better ones, but recognize it does come with a fair investment. There's a lot of work that goes into getting that certification. It's a demanding exam. We've covered this in some of other webinars. But if that's the path that you want to follow, it's an excellent place to focus on.
Got it. Yeah, I think one thing that another learner asked is, does one need to have just like the PMP? PMP has a prerequisite, we need to have or demonstrate project management experience. So is such a requirement applicable for these certifications? And how much time would one require to prepare for these exams that we've mentioned?
Yeah, exactly. That's often a question people are interested in hearing an answer to. So the nice thing about these Agile certifications, there will be no expectation that you provide any demonstration of practical application of these skills.
Right.
PMP does, though. It's going to be interested in understanding where you've spent your prerequisite hours, and you've got to kind of fill out a long application form to get the PMP, but you do not need to do that for these certifications. And in terms of practicing and readiness to take the exams, well, the good news is most of the time you're going to take the exam at the very end of the course, and you'll just get it done. There's not as much emphasis on memorization and complex math formulas that you got to remember. It's really just making sure you're comfortable with the concepts. These generally speaking are very accessible concepts, so you probably won't need to put much effort into preparing for the exam, particularly if you're fresh off a good course that's covered all the topics.
Got it. So just a couple of resources for people to get started. We always share this. So one is the CSM study guide. I'm sure people will find that useful to start with. Do you want to highlight what the CSM study guide has? Because that's like a great way to start preparing, or it's pretty easy for someone to prepare and then take the test, right? Is that how it works? Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think one of the things that, Simplilearn provides is they've just been doing this a very long time.
Yeah.
And they've learned a lot about, what helps learners be successful in getting certification. So this is a great ebook with some very proven techniques and approaches to help you pass that exam. As I mentioned, though, I think you're going to find that this is, a very accessible exam. If you've got any exam anxiety, don't feel too overly concerned, because I think generally speaking, this is probably going to be a pretty easy exam, relatively speaking. But this is a great guide. Definitely spend some time with this. It will give you a nice roadmap you can follow, a structured way to prepare for the exam. So this is great guidance to kind of use to get yourself ready to take that certification.
Got it. Got it. Bryan, is there a way someone can find out the exam fee of each of these exams? We did mention the renewal cost, but someone's asking about the exam fee. But with the CSM certification training that Simplilearn offers, the exam fee is included. Maybe we'll help you answer. We'll get to that in a bit. But are you aware, Bryan, or are these changing again? Do these change every
Well,
year?
yeah, they can change. So my general guidance would be to go to the website and just see what the latest, fee is. And you're right. Most organizations like Simplilearn are aware that people want to take the exam, so they've embedded that fee in the training itself. So
Yeah.
if you're interested in getting training, I would look for organizations that do include that. I know Simplilearn often too gives you some guarantees and say, hey,
Yeah.
we're here to help you. If you don't pass an exam, well, we'll help you retake it without additional cost. So and I think this is why we have our learning advisors here, right? They'll be able to
Yes.
help answer a few of those questions.
Yes, they do. They do. So, whoever's anonymously posted that question, we'll help you. I mean, the learning advisors will be here with you in a separate room, in a breakout session to help you answer those questions. But if you've got more such questions, please use the Q&A box. We're loving the questions that are coming in. Make sure you ask them, and you can also see Bryan, answering these questions right away as they come. So he's really quick with that. So maybe you can post your questions, or we'll take them live if it'll help the other learners as well, right? So just a quick poll once again, because we've covered the major certifications. Let us know if you have understood about which certification you need to start with. Just maybe a yes, or if you're still confused, you know what to do. Use the Q&A box and ask Bryan about what you can do, right? Yeah, question to Bryan. Someone has a question. With which certification did you start? And then which are the other ones he continues with? Okay, Bryan, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, it's I have to kind of rewind a little bit and think. It's a long time ago now, but I did start with my CSM. And
Hmm.
at least in my agile path, like I originally began with my project manager certification, but that was quite a while ago. And then when agile really started to get sort of a lot more traction, I actually had been quite involved in the agile space for many years prior to that. But then increasingly there was interest in getting these certifications, and that's when you saw the Scrum Alliance sort of emerge. It created the Certified Scrum Master. And this was back in the day. I think there were only 6 trainers that taught the CSM.
Wow.
So I was pretty fortunate that these trainers were all, very highly skilled, very well recognized folks. It was a great opportunity to kind of hear this directly from these experts.
Mhm.
So that was what I started CSM. And then from that, just kept on going, adding more. Like took the PMI-ACP when it very first came out. I was asked to participate that as one of the early testers to get a sense of how that exam was going to work with a broader community. And then the Scaled Agile framework, which is a little newer into this space. I mean, new is a relative term. I think I took that certification 6-7 years ago. But that's another great one to include in your roadmap, if you will.
Got it. I hope that answers your question. Okay, ASM, Chandru has a question. What is exactly ASM? There. Mhm.
Yeah, so you're probably going to say there's a lot of these sort of acronyms terms out there. So ASM, I think actually I'm not super familiar with what that one is. I'm going to
Yeah,
look it up.
I
I'm
we don't
guessing an
have.
Agile Scrum Master, and there are definitely lots of different bodies that offer their own types of certifications here. So I might not be, off the top of my head, immediately familiar with the ASM, but it's possible it's offered by another organization.
So,
And
yeah, I just looked it up, Brian. So
hmm.
SAFe offers Advanced Scrum Master.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure it's like a step ahead.
Oh, yes. Okay. It's
Yeah.
advanced Scrum Master through SAFe. Yeah, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So one thing SAFe has done a very effective job on is, and kind of similar to the PMI, they've kind of taken a page from its book. They've got a very structured pathway for different types of roles within the scaled agile framework. So yeah, that advanced Scrum Master is probably another one of their sort of layers in that space. And again, if you're working in a large organization, so using SAFe, it's a great framework because it's got so much effective training available that you can continue to grow into your role and get more effective applying these techniques.
Understood. Understood. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Before we take, another question, it's Advanced Scrum Master. Simplilearn does offer it, but in partnership, the SAFe is the owner of the certification. One more follow-up question on your personal choices of certifications. So although did you have a particular reason to start with CSM? Okay, was
Yeah,
it because it was less expensive, more expensive? Not that.
yeah, I have to kind of rewind a little bit and think about that. But I think at the time there just weren't, frankly, a lot of certifications at that point. So the CSM might have been, the only one that was available. And this really gets back to where we started a conversation.
Yeah.
Agile is getting a lot more traction, a lot more interest. Of course, I'm a consultant, so I want to be demonstrating on top of the trends, and that was the reason I wanted to get the certification. So it's kind of a credentializer. So if you're kind of in a similar place, these certifications, you notice I've got quite a few of them. Well, the reason I have quite a few of them is because this is what attracts organizations and employers. They say, oh, look, this person really knows this stuff. We're going to hit the ground running if we bring someone in with these certifications. So that was sort of a big driver. Now, the cost of these things, they're not prohibitive. The SAFe one's actually kind of expensive if you think about it. The SPC is about $800, $900 a year to maintain. So that does, have a higher cost associated with that. But the SSM is cheaper. The SPC is sort of the bigger certification where the whole framework, so it's a little bit more understandable. It's a bit more expensive, but yeah, you've got to kind of take the path you're comfortable with. Cost is important. Be aware that once you start some of these journeys, I've been paying the PMI certification renewal, gosh, for over 15 years now. So yeah, you're in it for a long time.
Right. So does it really help if say if someone has done an SSM from SAFe? Does it really help, or should they consider a CSM or a PSM? I mean, does that make sense?
Oh,
Or
yeah. No, yeah, that's a fantastic question. You're exactly right. If you get one of these certifications, you're good. You don't need the other ones. You don't need to be a CSM, a PSM, and a SSM. Any one of these would be quite sufficient. In fact, you probably won't find it you won't learn a lot of additional information, I think, if you take the other certs after you've got one of these. So just start with one of these and then look further ahead and say, yeah, maybe I want to go down more of a PMI-ACP path or get more of my scaled agile certifications or explore a product owner certification. So there's lots and lots of other really strong certifications out there that all these associations, organizations provide.
got it. All right. So question for all of you. I know you've got a few more questions to ask, Brian, but just a quick question checking in on you as to what do you think is your blocker for becoming a Scrum professional? So let us know whatever your reason is. It could be that you're not able to take up a job, you don't have the practical exposure you need, you don't have the right skills, you're still finding the right course. Of course, we've got answers to that. We've got the right course for you. We'll talk about that in a while. Just quickly let us know your answers here. Okay. You don't have the skills. It can also be that you don't know how to apply these skills. Or how does one do that after being certified, Brian? How does one apply these skills at their job?
Yeah, so really that's going to be a question you're going to have to kind of answer yourself a little bit. But what all these courses are going to really arm you with is really effective practical techniques that you can literally apply the very next day after taking the course. So, for
Hmm.
example, you heard me mention, there's one of the ceremonies in Scrum is called the daily stand-up, this short 15-minute check-in with the team. So you can set that up the very next day. You're going to learn effective techniques and practices to have a good daily stand-up event with your team, and you can do that very immediately. So one of the reasons these certifications in particular, I think, are highly sought after is people recognize, hey, I can apply these techniques right away. Now, you take the PMP or even the Scaled Agile Framework certifications, the broader ones, those take much longer to effectively implement because there's
Right.
just, there's a lot more to consider. So these are great for, hey, I learned something and I can get some value from it the very next day.
Hmm. Understood. Okay, I think that answers today. I think Brian have just anticipated a lot of questions on the Q&A box.
Yeah.
Hence, we don't have a lot of them, or either you've just typed and then answered them. Okay, we'll just come to the questions in a bit. We'll take them through the CSM course. Some of you said you're still finding for the right course to upskill, right? So that is why we bring to you the CSM certification training. And like Brian mentioned, CSM is a great way to start if you're a complete beginner. And remember that you get live classes through this particular training, and we run about 20 plus cohorts in a month. I'll show you the cohort schedules as well. But what you get as a part of the training is you get access to complimentary Agile and Scrum courses, which are worth $500. We'll take you through the curriculum and help you understand how this course is different from what you get. And also you get, a membership worth 2 years from Scrum Alliance. And along with the training fee that you'll see on the website, you will also know that the exam fee is included in the training fee. And along with this training, you get access to 20 PDUs and 16 SUs. What Brian mentioned are useful for your renewal, right? So let me just take you through what you get as a part of the course. You get 16 hours of live training, and all you need is to maybe spend a weekend, studying for the CSM exam. You get a Scrum Alliance certificate with a 2-year membership. Like I said, you get a 2-year membership from Scrum Alliance, and you get 4 mock test papers for you to prepare for the CSM exams, right? So Brian, maybe if you can just highlight what they learn exactly in this course. I know there are a lot of modules, but maybe just a quick brief about what they learn. Brian, you're on mute.
I put myself on mute if I'm typing, so I don't distract anyone. But yeah, so there's a lot of detail here. You can probably see most of these are kind of short, very focused topics. But essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to start with the foundation of what is Scrum, where did Scrum come from, why is this something you should be interested in. Then the different agile methodologies, so kind of a quick understanding of what some of the other practices are that are out there on the landscape, and then really digging deep into the Scrum lifecycle, the terminologies that you're going to come across, and then we'll focus on some of these concepts like sprints, which are these short time box delivery periods. We'll talk about how do we release work to our customers. We'll talk about ceremonies like our daily scrum. You'll get a chance to kind of role play a little bit of that and see what it looks like. We'll think about what user stories are. These are sort of our requirements that come to the team that they can work on developing. You'll hear discussions on how do we know something's done? What's our definition of done? We'll get exposed to the product backlog, and that's what the product owner in particular is spending a lot of time on, refining that backlog, prioritizing it by the value it offers. And then we'll look at the sprint backlog, which is the work that'll get pulled into that time box period, in which the team is going to deliver value. And we'll also discover, techniques around planning. What are some effective sprint planning techniques? When we finish the sprint, let's review what we completed and get feedback from our customers. And after that's completed, then we'll think about what can we do to get better in our retrospective, what things could help us continue to improve. And then we'll spend some time on the different roles that are on the team, the product owner, the Scrum Master, and just the team itself.
Understood. All right. Of course, some classes, live sessions from your, certified Scrum trainers. And along with that, we mentioned the complementary courses. You have the Agile Scrum Foundation, you have the Agile Certified Practitioner, the PMI-ACP course, which is like a free course here. And then you get access to, financial modeling with Excel and a bunch of free courses as a part of this certification, right? So you have, say, your upcoming course schedules. Like Bryan mentioned, I'm just going to reiterate what he said. CSM is really easy to prepare for and kind of enroll and study. It just takes literally a weekend. So all you need just a couple of days to prepare. And the course fee that you see is for someone living in the US. If you're living in India, and if you want to understand what the course fee is, you can take a look at the course page here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just launch a quick poll asking whether you're interested in this particular course. Now, if you live in India, you can expect a call tomorrow morning. If you select a yes, a learning advisor will reach out to you. But let's say you live in the US, we've got learning advisors for you right away to kind of help you understand how this course functions, right? So we've got Neha and Siddhant who will help you, and I'm going to just start with I'll just click on start and then you will receive a notification that a breakout room has been started. So you can enter the breakout room. And if you live in the US, right, and understand your enrollment steps and get all your questions answered around the certification training, right? So here you go. All you have to do is to join the room and ask your questions. You can also unmute yourself. And people living in India and the rest of the world, maybe use the poll because a learning advisor will reach out to you tomorrow morning. It's pretty late in India, so we couldn't get learning advisors to join this webinar, but I'm sure you might have questions. You can quickly ask them here on the Q&A box. Right. Yes, Zishan, you can post your question on the Q&A box. We still are reading questions. Yes. Oh, you have. What after SAFe? Bryan, what should one do after SAFe certification?
Oh, after your, what after SAFe? Where do you go
Yep.
after you guys? Well, so a few things about that question. If we're referring specifically to the Scrum Master certification, then other paths you could explore would be that product owner, product manager certification. That might be a good one. It turns out SAFe also has quite a few other really strong certification paths you can follow. So, for example, if you're more interested in sort of architecture and technology, they've got paths in that space. They have more advanced Scrum Master-like training, including one called a release train engineer, where you're kind of coordinating multiple teams. Sort of think about like a Uber Scrum Master overseeing lots of teams. So there's lots of really interesting paths you can take there, and I'm pretty confident most of those are available through the Simplilearn site as well.
Amazing. Great. Yeah, of course. So if you're interested and if you've already done a CSM and you're looking for other certifications, in the same domain, you can take a look at simplylearn.com. And if you select a yes on the poll, in fact, you can let your learning advisor know that, hey, it's not just the CSM, I'm also looking for another course. You can still select a yes on the poll, and, kind of let the learning advisor know about your preferences, ask about why or what you should do next. Yeah, you can totally do that. Great. Let me see if we have more questions. So Bryan, I think you already answered a bunch of them. I think Praveen from YouTube, we've also addressed that. So we had a question earlier. I think you already addressed that. So maybe we can just quickly take that during in the session. Someone wants to switch to the project management domain. Is CAPM the right way or the right? I know this session is not around project management, but I think I saw that question somewhere.
Sure. Yeah, and I think if it's the YouTube question, so yeah, considering ACP is like I said, an excellent certification. It's a little broader than just focusing on Scrum. So you might find that a good fit. Maybe in your organization, it's using different types of practices. So that's maybe something certainly to consider. And then I think I did hear a couple folks asking, there's this other certification called a CAP-M, Certified Associate Project Manager.
Yeah.
And that is just going to sound a little funny, but essentially it covers the same material. You're going to review the same PMBOK. You're going to take the same exam as you would for the PMP. But if you don't have a lot of that practical experience yet, maybe you're earlier in your career, so the PMP does require a lot of actual real world practical experience. So if you're not quite at that point where you've got that experience, they offer the CAP-M, which is sort of a, you don't need to have all that experience, but you still are familiar with the project management framework, et cetera. So CAP-M is a great complement, and the PMP, to all of these Agile certifications. So they pair very nicely together.
Understood. Let me see if there are more questions. Sullivan, if you're from the US, you should be joining the breakout room. Our learning advisors are right there to help you enroll and get started with your training right away. So what if someone has, Bryan, again, a curious question. What if someone has the plan to, kind of take the training and they don't want to take the exam right away? Can someone do that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing preventing you from taking the training and then waiting when you're feeling a little more confident to take the exam. Although I will say, again, as I mentioned, these aren't the most demanding exams. So I don't think if you're overly anxious, I probably don't have to worry too much. I think you'll find those will be pretty easy. These are often different, but I will say that when I used to deliver the CSM certification, I would often just do the exam at the end of the session. And sort of the last hour of the training would be taking the exam. And I don't think anyone ever failed it. So it's pretty accessible.
That's interesting. So you finished your training and then you immediately, right after, let's
Take the
imagine someone
exam.
doing a test right after the webinar. That's how easy it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's things might be a little bit different, and I think some people probably do prefer to have a little bit of time to kind of prepare, and
Of course.
that's totally understandable. So I think you will absolutely have that option, but just to kind of increase your confidence a little bit, it's not the most demanding exam. It's just really checking in that you've sort of been paying attention and that you generally understand the key concepts.
Yeah, of course, got it. Do we have? I think today we've kind of proactively anticipated questions, so I don't think a lot of learners have them. Let me see. Cannot see the break. Okay, you should see a room called US Learning Advisors, Yasir. Just click on that option. You'll see 4 boxes there. You should just click on that, and then you should be able to see the breakout rooms. Yeah. You can go back to the room and come back to the main session anytime you want to. Again, the choice to enroll totally depends. I mean, lays with you, but you can enter the breakout room anytime you want. Yeah. Great. I think we've addressed most questions today, Bryan. Any closing thoughts for them on? Again, I think the question remains, which one should I start with? How should I start with? What resources can I look at?
Right. Yeah. So I guess my closing thoughts, the fact that everyone's attended the session tells me there's interest in pursuing your certification. The guidance I would offer is just, leverage that momentum. Take those next steps. Don't take your foot off the gas. You're obviously in a good position to kind of move forward with this. So make that commitment, hold yourself accountable, take the certification, and I think you're going to be really, really pleased with the results, because once you get the certification, it's going to credentialize your skills. It's going to make you look like you're investing in yourself. Organizations are generally very interested in finding people that do see themselves as constantly learning and developing. So I would really encourage you to take that next step and just make it happen.
Amazing. Great. It was great having you, Bryan, and also listening to your advice today, and also kind of getting your advice on how to start, where exactly can one start. I think it helped a lot of learners ease out their anxiousness, curiosity, and all of that. So thank you so much. The learners can maybe stay back. I just want to collect feedback and also help them with their webinar certificates. But maybe we should do a webinar on comparing, the PMP and the Scrum certifications. I don't think we've done that.
Yeah,
Maybe learners, a quick yes or no. What do you think,
Yeah.
Bryan? Is that a good idea to do that? Because
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
got a
think a
lot
lot
of,
of people have that question. You're exactly right.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think I realized that after I saw a lot of questions around, oh, should I do a PMP or, yeah, great idea. You feel, yeah,
Okay, good,
yeah,
good, good.
yeah.
The audience has spoken. There we go.
Yes, so that's our cue. All right, great. Thanks so much, Bryan. I'll see you once again. And I think learners, like I said, can stay back. See you again, Bryan. Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye. Great. So the learners, in case you still have to give a yes if you're back from the breakout room and you still need some more time to decide, please click a yes on the poll and also let us know how you liked the session. Just in your own words, you could let us know what you learned, what your takeaways were. I know a lot of you want a comparison done between the PMP and the Scrum certifications, but yeah, quick thoughts on what you learned today, whether it helped you clarify the confusion. Yes, it did. Was it informative? You can let us know on the chat. I'm just leaving the poll open for people to still express their interest. So insightful, great, great, great. What about the others? Yeah, of course, you can share. Let's say you had something else in mind, you couldn't get something clarified, got clarity, Akanksha. Great, great. Okay. Okay, amazing. Amazing. So what you guys can do is, in case you are hesitant to let us know your feedback, what you can do is give us a rating for this webinar and let us know what you would like us to do better. Okay? Just some quick thoughts. Give us a rating, quickly submit your rating, and then we'll get to the webinar certificate, Ajay, just in a bit. Yes. Yes, thank you, Justin. Glad that you loved the session. Would love to also have your feedback documented so that it's useful for us. Don't worry, it's anonymous. Confused about PMP and with CSM values on AI or Zenith. I think we just missed that question. But I'm sure I think the roles are evolving with AI in place. It's just going to get easier or maybe a lot smarter because it's not going to take away these job roles anywhere. So maybe that's your answer, but Bryan would have answered this better. But yeah, I think it's just going to make your job a lot easier. Maybe we'll cover this in the next session. Thank you so much. Ihsan was enlightening. Glad that it was enlightening. Vishan, glad that it was helpful. Just let us know your thoughts on the poll as well. Found a lot of information. People on YouTube also let us know what you thought. If you really liked the session, maybe a thumbs up or a star just to let us know you loved it. Or let's say you want us to cover something, just like people said here, a comparison between PMP and the Scrum certifications would help. If you would like us to do similar stuff, let us know on the chat. Thank you, Sanket. Yeah, you guys still have to stay back for giving your names for the webinar certificate though. So if you've given your feedback, just wait around. For the learners in the breakout rooms, they're still getting their doubts answered. So we'll just wait around for, 5-10 minutes and then we'll wrap up the session. Some of you might be wondering, oh, where do I take a look at the recording? How do I go about looking at the recording, right? Let me share the link with you. On the chat. Okay. There you go. So I'm going to share the link to the recording, to the live stream right here. Sorry, I think I missed the chat window. Yeah. I'm just going to keep the chat box closed for a while so that people don't miss out on the links that I'm about to share. In case you are interested in revisiting what Bryan said, please take a look at the recording. And if you would like to receive updates about upcoming webinars, you want to understand, okay, what does Simplilearn have in store? What other webinars can I attend? Then you can join our community. and receive alerts there as well. I'm sure some of you learners have had received this alert, and that's why you're here. Great to have you there in the community as well. So we just keep posting webinar alerts there. No other spammy posts, nothing else apart from just webinar alerts. So if you'd like to be a part of the WhatsApp group, you can still do that. And also, let's say you want to revisit today's session, you can again do that with the link that I shared. Okay, great. So I'm just going to close down the rating poll. I'm sure all of you have shared your feedback. Thank you so much for rating us. A lot of you have rated us a 5. Great. I'm sure I'm going to read this feedback in detail later. Let me now launch a short form or a certificate poll that will collect your full name. So make sure you give in your full name properly. If you would like a certificate, you need to give in your first name, space, full name. Okay. Do not enter your device name. Do not enter your email ID, because all of that just gets filtered out, and then you'll have to reach out to us once again for a certificate. Yeah. So just make sure you enter your full name properly. You can also share it, on your social platforms, LinkedIn, or wherever you want to, and then also tag Bryan, right? So he'll be happy to know that you gained something out of the session. Yes. Okay. Now you should expect your certificate by, in the next 24 hours, you should be receiving your certificate along with the link to the recording. Yeah. Okay. Great. Great. While you guys enter your names, if you've already entered your name, you can also take a look at the course that we just talked about, the CSM certification. In case you didn't get a chance to, enter your name, enter a yes on the poll, you could still head to the course page, and let me help you understand you can do, right? Just go down and you should be able to see a pop-up, right? The live chat. So all you have to do is to enter your query here and give in your details, and then a learning advisor will contact you. Okay. So there's also just a form that you can enter to just ask whatever questions you have about the course. This is also a way learning advisor will reach out to you. Yeah. Yes. And everything else around the cohorts, everything is available on the course page. Yeah. Okay. Let me see if there are more questions for me to answer on the Q&A box. Not really. Cool. Right. Right. Okay. Amazing. I think, let's see how many people have entered their names. Okay, just about a half of you. I request everyone else to enter your names. Audience on YouTube, you guys can check out the link, the details of the course with the link on the video description. All you have to do is to head to the video description, just click on the link, and you should be able to find the details of the course. Yeah. So I think a lot of learners have got their doubts answered. So Siddhant, are we done answering questions from the learners?
Yes, we are. I'm actually gonna get on a call with one of the customers who wants to sign up. So yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Neha is still on the call though, and because few of the other learners joined later on.
Right.
Right. So I told her to stay back, and then I leave. Once they're done, then we'll take it from there.
Great, great, great. So I think I'll wait around for a few more minutes for Neha to get done, and
all right.
We're done with the session here. We're just pretty much collecting names for the webinar certificate.
All right, fine.
Thank you so much, Siddhant, for
All right,
joining.
all right, Mana. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Neha is also here. I think, Neha, if you're done answering all the questions, just give me a quick confirmation. Maybe on the chat is also fine. If you're still answering questions. Great. Yes, Neha. Are we done answering questions? Do we still have learners who have questions there?
One got connected with Siddhant, another one was not responding, and I believe I have ended the session giving my email address and phone number.
Great. All right, cool. But thanks, Neha, and Siddhant has also left. Thanks for your time as well, for taking time out to answer questions about enrollments. And learners, in case, yes, Justin, all you have to do is to enter your name on the certificate poll. Yes, I was just coming to that. In case you guys are not able to do that, okay, you're not able to figure out where the poll is, just email us on webinars@simplilearn.net. We'll add your name to the certificate. Make sure you're entering your email ID, giving us your full name, like how you would like to appear, how we'd like the name to appear on the certificate, and then we'll send it to you. Okay, but easier way is to just enter it on the poll. Thank you so much, Neha, Rabindra, and also Siddhant. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you. So if you have already entered your name, you don't have to do anything else. I'm just waiting for a few more minutes. Just about 8 of you who still have to figure out the poll. Then I think we'll close the session. Yeah. Lalit, on the poll, on the certificate poll. Okay. Yes, or if you guys are finding it difficult, just email us at the email ID webinars@simplilearn.net. Okay. In case people are missing a message out, webinars@simplilearn.net. That's my email ID. Just email us if you can't figure out where the poll is. Okay. Great. I think it was great hosting you, answering all of your questions. A lot of great questions today that came in. Just tells how eager you are to learn and upskill and move ahead in your career. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you in our certification training as well, and also hope that we could address most of your concerns. Thank you so much again. It was glad hosting you. Bye-bye. Have a great day ahead.